What's going on YouTube? Welcome to the EndZone. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications so we can move the chains. Today, we are going to break down the New Year's 6 bowl games, and I am accompanied by Warren Fitzpatrick, college football analyst. So let's begin with the Orange Bowl. Warren, it's Florida versus Virginia. What stands out to you in this game?
I think the first thing that stands out is just the fact that it's a mismatch of teams. Florida's played a difficult schedule, being in the SEC, ranked 9 right now, respectively, and Virginia, sitting at 24, somehow snuck their way into the college football rankings for this last week. I think the big thing comes across is that among the New Year's 6 teams, Virginia is the only one without a top 25 win. Also with that, they've allowed the second most yards per game among New Year's 6 teams. So I think Florida's going to have their way against Virginia. One difficult issue for Florida will be the fact that their star cornerback, CJ Henderson, is skipping the bowl game. He'll be focusing on the draft, but I don't see that hurting them too much, as I think Florida's D-line will be the big dominance for them.
Yeah, and part of that is the D-line is going to have to get to Bryce Perkins. He's obviously the player that everybody should know when watching Virginia. He's a game changer. He's mobile. He can throw it down the field, but this O-line for Virginia is just, it's bad. I mean, we saw it against Clemson. This is probably the best D-line they'll see all year other than Clemson, and I just cannot see UVA winning this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Florida from the start. I would like to say Virginia has a chance in this game. The only way that might happen is if Bryce Perkins can limit interceptions. He's had 11 on the year, so I think this game will be Florida from the start. Their defense will dominate. I have them winning 30-17.
Yeah, I have Florida 42, Virginia 16. So let's move on to the Cotton Bowl, Memphis and Penn State. Now this is an interesting matchup we've got here. I'm really excited for this Cotton Bowl. Why should we be excited?
Yeah, this is going to be a clash of two forces. Penn State, a top 25 defense, only allowing 14 points per game.
Yeah, and I think we're going to have to look at Kenneth Gainwell, running back for Memphis, and Brady White. Brady White is a pretty prolific quarterback. I mean, we've seen him. He was at Arizona State, so he's a Power 5 type of player. And Kenneth Gainwell, 150 all-purpose yards per game. That's going to be hard to stop. And what about Penn State? What is Penn State going to need to do on offense?
Yeah, I think they need to do what they usually do. Get the ball to KJ Hamler. Their offense has struggled all year long. It's going to be struggling even more in this game, as offensive coordinator Ricky Ray is now leaving Penn State to be the head coach of Old Dominion. So offensively, among the New Year's 6 teams, they put up the second worst yards per game. So they're going to have to rely heavy on their defense, like we said. Micah Parsons being a big factor for that. He's the most important defensive player for Penn State.
Okay, so now that we've gone over these two teams, you got a really offensive team and a really defensive squad. How do you analyze this? What is the score going to be for you?
So I actually have Penn State winning this game 28-24.
Yeah, so I have Memphis winning this. I just think that this offense is so strong, and I have questions. You know, Sean Clifford just seems like an average quarterback at Penn State, and I think that Memphis is going to pull off the upset 27-24 in the Cotton Bowl. Now we're moving on to the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all, Oregon and Wisconsin. A clash unlike the Cotton Bowl because these teams are very similar, and this is a hard one to predict because I just think we're going to have one of the most physical games in football.
Yeah, I think there'll be no shortage of effort in the Rose Bowl. As other bowl games, people might say, are losing their significance, I think the Rose Bowl holds its own.
Yeah, to me, this is a statement game for Jonathan Taylor. He is 100 yards away from that significant 2,000 rushing yard mark in the season. This would be the second time he's accomplished that. Incredible running back and an incredible career. But Oregon's defense is 10th best in the country against the rush. And we saw that they were totally dominant against Utah in the Pac-12 championship. They need a great game from Jack Cohn. We've seen him kind of all over the place, you know, making some pretty darn good plays against Minnesota. Chris Orr on the defense sticks out to me, 11.5 sacks, and he did not play in the Big Ten title game, so you know he's going to be motivated to make a difference. Now, what do you see from Oregon?
Yeah, I think Oregon's playing for it all right now. They just took away Utah's chance of the playoffs. Now they have the heavy Rose Bowl in their hands. And this is also Justin Herbert's last chance to prove his draft stock. He's been up and down all season long, had a great game versus Utah. but this is really his last chance to prove himself that he is a worthy draft pick. And it will be difficult because Wisconsin is top 20 in pass defense in the country. So he will have to rely on C.J. Verdell at running back, which can be the game changer. Versus Utah just last game, the number 1 rush defense in the nation at the time, he put up 208 yards. And now versus Wisconsin, the number 8 rush defense, he'll have to do it again at heavy load. On the defensive side, we're going to have to rely on Troy Dye, a star linebacker, and Kayvon Thibodeau at the defensive end.
Yeah, and for people who haven't really watched Pac-12 football this year, Oregon is not like the classic Oregon with Marcus Mariota that most people are accustomed to seeing over the years. This is a totally different team. This reminds me more of a classical SEC style team where they are focused on running the ball, even though they have Justin Herbert at quarterback. Verdell is going to be an emphasis, and obviously Wisconsin is also focused on running the ball and playing excellent defense. So I have Wisconsin winning this one 23-16.
Yeah, I have a little more high scoring. I think Oregon is living high right now after that Pac-12 championship. And this is really their chance to put a statement for the Pac-12, showing that they can hang with the big dogs. So I have Oregon 34-31.
Now it's the Sugar Bowl, Georgia versus Baylor. Georgia coming off a pretty embarrassing loss, would you say, to LSU. And Baylor down to their third-string quarterback, losing a heartbreaker to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. Both teams are stout on defense, so what do you see here?
Yeah, I think typically the issue with this game we saw last year, Georgia versus Texas, Georgia had so many upcoming draft picks that they didn't show up versus Texas, as they said, or they claimed to make an excuse for. And so this year I think it's different. They don't have as many upcoming draft prospects leaving, and the only issue is they have players injured or suspended. Star receivers Lawrence Cager and Dominique Blaylock both will be out for this game. And along with James Cook now, their backup running back, who was arrested this past Saturday, and most likely will be suspended. So now the game will be in the hands of Jake Fromm, and how reliable is that? As we've seen him over this past season, really have a down year again. He's 1-2 when he has to throw over 30 more passes. So if they're relying on him, I don't know how much I like UGA in this game. Another question is DeAndre Swift playing? He came out this past week saying that he still doesn't know if he's going pro or not. And that leaves the question if he's going to play in this game. So if DeAndre Swift is here, they're going to have to rely on him, not put the hands in Fromm. But if Swift is out and James Cook, I don't know how well this offense is going to do against a good Baylor defense.
Now, when you look at Baylor, the main question is, can Charlie Brewer play in this game? Because he is a game changer. He's mobile. He has 10 rushing touchdowns. I think if Baylor has Charlie Brewer, they have a very good shot. And also, is Denzel Mims playing? He wasn't playing in the championship game. So if he does play, he's obviously a big threat to this Georgia secondary, which we saw get torched versus LSU. They also have a pretty dual backfield, talented wide receivers. The offense is by no means horrible for Baylor. I actually think maybe Georgia has a worse offense than Baylor, or should I say Baylor has a better offense than Georgia. James Lynch, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, 12.5 sacks. I mean, he is an animal on that defense, and they need to force turnovers to win. And I think they can do that because Jake Fromm has been struggling. But to me, Georgia's defense, I know that they got beat pretty bad against LSU. I think that they can rebound in this game. So I have Georgia winning 21-17. What about you?
Yeah, I think my pick relies heavy on Charlie Brewer, like you mentioned. I have Baylor winning this one 27-24 with a healthy Charlie Brewer.
Now we're covering the first college football playoff game, the Peach Bowl, LSU and Oklahoma. Two huge offenses are going to square off in this game. What do you see from LSU?
Like you just said, these are top two offenses in the nation. Both teams averaging 40 points per game, averaging 554 yards per game. But it's not just the Joe Burrow show. He has weapons around him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 1,300 rushing yards. And then receivers, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, both at 1,200 plus receiving yards. And then defensively, who at the beginning of the year we thought was their standout, Grant Delpit, has now fallen in the hands of Derek Stingley, who has had 6 interceptions on the year.
And for Oklahoma's starting defensive end, Ronnie Perkins is out. He definitely has a big impact, but obviously he won't have a big impact because he was suspended. Jalen Hurts has been here before. He's been in the playoffs with another team in Alabama, and he kind of gets it. He knows how to win these games. They have the 25th best pass defense in the country, which will obviously be important because LSU's plan is to throw all over Oklahoma. Kenneth Murray is going to be a big part in that. He's the linebacker. He's very quick. Lots of NFL scouts are liking Kenneth Murray, and I think he's going to have an impact on this game. Oklahoma is not like another Oklahoma team that you've seen in the past with Baker Mayfield, with Kyler Murray. Those quarterbacks were much better passers than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is a focused runner. He loves running the ball and scrambling. Can LSU stop him from scrambling and getting the ball out to CeeDee Lamb? I really don't know. Honestly, I think this is going to be a shootout, but I don't see Oklahoma scoring more points than LSU, and that's why I have LSU winning 43-40.
Yeah, I think like you just said, it would be a shootout. I have LSU 45-40, which is a little bit closer than the line of 13. It's going to be a shootout for the ages.
And finally, the final game that we are going to preview, the Fiesta Bowl. Many people think, hey, this could very well be a national championship matchup. Clemson and Ohio State. These two teams match up together so well that it's going to be crazy. We really do not know what's going to happen. So what do you think about Clemson?
I think Clemson is a team that has been underrated all year long due to their ACC conference schedule. But Trevor Lawrence is someone who has probably been criticized too much. Beginning of the year, looked like he had a sophomore slump. In his first 7 games, had 8 interceptions. But now, since those first 7, he's had 0 interceptions and really turning it on. Helping him out is the starter running back, Travis Etienne, 1,500 yards on the year, alongside T. Higgins at receiver with 17 touchdowns. Although they don't get much recognition, their defense is top 2 in the nation, led by Isaiah Simmons, a future NFL standout, alongside Tanner Muse.
Yeah, and Ohio State, begin with Chase Young, 16.5 sacks. Can you believe that? I watched him live. I went to the Penn State-Ohio State game. It seemed like every single play he was making a direct impact on the outcome of that play, and many times the outcome was not great for that Penn State offense because this defense for Ohio State is legendary. On the offensive side of the ball, Justin Fields, 1 interception on the year. He is electric, and he's been playing with an injury recently, and we saw him go down against Penn State. But gosh, he's just so good, and he hands the ball off to another Heisman frontrunner, J.K. Dobbins, 1,800 yards on the ground. There's no stopping this offense. They also have various weapons at wide receiver. OSU has 5 top 25 wins, and 3 are in the top 10. Ohio State, to me, is no joke, and that's why they get the win 30-27 in a close one over Clemson.
Yeah, and I actually like Clemson in this one, 35-31.
Be sure to follow Warren at WarrenFitz3 on Twitter. I will put his Twitter handle in the description down below. Thanks for watching the End Zone. Before you go, make sure to leave a comment on what you think is going to happen with the college football playoffs. Thanks for watching the End Zone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we can move the chains.